What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I'm your hostess, doing the mostest, Heughan, and we are here with The Couple Next Door, Season 1, Episode 4, The Miracle. I promise by the end of this recap, you're not going to see any miracles, but you know, I love the title, and wouldn't you like to know why it's named that? Okay, we are past the halfway mark of the Evie, Pete, Becka, Danny saga, and we're dealing with so much within the series on top of everything that's going on with the relationship and where we left off, right? Some little entanglements, you know what I mean, in episode 3. And so we're picking up episode 4. You know, Danny's getting dressed and everything. He done banged them walls up a little bit, and he getting ready to go back to his wife or whatever. And Evie's just like, oh, touch it, feel it, love it. You know what I like, no limits. How you want it, letting you inside. So let's explore, okay, and let's do this more. Access all areas. Evie wants to be yours, Danny. She wants to be yours. And Danny's like, babe, I have to get back to my partner, and so do you. Like, this is not how this works. This works like I dig you out, and you take the digging, and you do the bending, and yeah, I go back to Bex, you go back to Peter, and you know, we can just go on with life like regular neighbors. I can come by and borrow some sugar. I can borrow some tea. And yeah. And Evie's like, well, like, we can do this again, right? And he's like, listen, girl, if everybody's on board, like, okay, cool, but like, we not finna stay, we not cuddling, we're not doing pillow talk like I have a woman and you have a man and ain't no other woman, you be weak as a lamb. I'm not gonna turn this episode into a musical, but anyways, so he's like, listen, I'm gonna head out. So he walks out of the room, and guys, guess who didn't get it on? Pete. Okay, he could not go through with it, and Danny walks out, and Pete is just sitting in the living room. Y'all, he was sitting there waiting whole night listening to his wife get banged in the other room, and he just has his fist over his eyes, and Danny sees him, and Danny's like, his whole demeanor just changes. So he's trying to like sneak past Pete while Pete is still sitting in the armchair. And he walks in to Becka, and he's like, I take it things did not go as planned. And Becka like, I don't honestly have time for any of that shit, because somebody has posted our pictures and our video and everything online, and there is a link on my page. Like, we need to figure out where this came from. So you need to work on your police connections and figure out what's happening, because this is absolutely disastrous, right? So while all this was happening at night, meanwhile, back at Becka in them house, I told y'all last episode, Alan's wife, Jean, was snooping around and caught him masturbating in Becca's house. Okay, what I did not tell y'all was that the good Lord did his big one, and Alan had a stroke. Alan had a stroke up in that house, y'all. Like, how amazing is that? Douglas, I'm trying to figure out why for the last 4 videos you've decided to chew on this loud bone while I'm recording. When I was doing nothing, you were taking a nap. Don't look away. Demi, I'm not talking to you. I don't want to hear your feet. Come over. Okay. Jesus. So So that all happened at night. He had a stroke, and it was quite beautiful to watch unfold, right? It was probably a little scary for Jean, but like so much was happening for her. Like she consumed a lot of information during her telescopic like perusing of the neighborhood, trying to figure out what her man was up to. So the next day, everybody's going home. Okay, we got awkward hug goodbyes, and it's just like, okay. And Evie is really the only one kind of like on cloud nine. So, you know, Becka is trying to figure out what's going on with this whole link thing or whatever, but across the street, Pete is just laid out hugging a pillow, literally in like a catatonic state. Did y'all watch Twilight when old girl was sitting at the window and they did like the time lapse of her just not moving? That's basically Pete sitting on the couch, and Evie's like, sir, like nobody died, like this might be a little awkward, but we knew that this was a possibility, like laying up, like it's not the end of the world. And Pete's just like, I need some space, just super dramatic and everything like that. But Evie can't really sit on his dramatics too long because she got what she wanted, so she's just like, okay dude, like do you. So Danny did have a phone call into work to figure out like what's going on and to track the IP address. So again, like I said, all of this is going on. Pete is outside trying to get his bearings or whatever, when Evie's just sitting in her little rocket chair going through all the pictures of the weekend, just kind of reminiscing. And she gets on a picture of the four of them, and she ends up zooming in on Danny. And so here we are. The fatal attraction awakening is like fully settled in this episode and in this moment, because man, how you go from comforting your man and then zooming in on somebody else, then the fact that Becka is your friend but you're just singularly focused on Danny and whatever stirrings you have going on in your mind, absolutely not okay. So Danny is like, you know, saying like, I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna figure everything out. But then he goes outside and he sees Gary, so he's in the car with Gary. And sir, there is still fallout from this package getting stolen. You can't just tell Gary like, oh, you pulled me in on this, so you need to get out of it. And Gary's like, no, we're gonna go see Robbie ourselves because we both got hired on this job. So whatever it is that you think you not gonna do, change your plans, my guy. Like, you're absolutely coming. Like, again, Danny, crime. This is not how this works. You don't just get to get out of it because your name wasn't like the recommending party. Somebody vouched for you and you fucked up. And we're doing criminal activities and we can't have loose ends. So like, how did you think this was gonna go? Okay, that's really stupid and presumptuous of you, if I may say so myself. And you're supposed to be like Coppa J said, like, use our marbles, okay? Let's use our marbles. Cool. So Becka, you know, is trying to just have a sense of normalcy when she shows up to her yoga class. Ain't nobody there. Everybody canceled. And the lady who she rents from, she's like, we have to cancel all your classes for the rest of the month because everybody pulled out of their stuff. So Becka is just really feeling the heat from this fallout. And I just feel really bad because like her privacy was violated and she doesn't know who did it. And like, that's her thing, like working out, health and wellness, just being aligned and everything like that is her thing. But she's like, okay, let me just figure some stuff out. Like, I still have other stuff to do. So she ends up going to Pete's job and she invites him out for some coffee. So they're sitting at the table and Pete is like, look, we ain't even got to talk about it. And she was like, listen, I can usually sense when one partner is down and the other one is not. And it's almost always the woman because men typically pressure their girlfriends or their spouses or partners or whatever into this situation. But Evie told me that you were on board. And Pete's like, she told you what? And Becca's like, And you can kind of tell that this is a moment where she should have trusted her gut because she did feel little inklings that this wasn't the case when they were sitting in the sauna when Evie was like, no, we've talked about it. And Becka was like, oh, okay. And now she's finding out that that wasn't the case. So Becca's like, look, I don't like to let shit just settle and be weird. So I truly hope that we could continue to be friends through all of this. And like, whatever you need to handle at home, like, please do it. And what I love about Becka so much, and I'm actually really surprised that I love her, especially after like the first episode, she kind of came on like hot. She confronts situations. She doesn't like problems or issues to sit, but she doesn't just confront them like, so what's your problem or whatever. She's like, listen, I sense and understand that something has happened and it was really uncomfortable. And so I want to make sure that we are good, and what can I do to help make this not as uncomfortable for you anymore. So I really love how she approached this with Pete, and just very responsible. And so you could just really tell even more that her and Danny, they're not just doing this because it's cool or they want to be like hip into this alternative relationship lifestyle. They take what they do and the people that they bring in very seriously, and they take their emotional and mental reactions very seriously as well. And so just overall, with Becka dealing with all of this throughout the entire episode, I just love how she's trying to just close the loop on the situation so as to not affect their friendship. But I'm pretty sure it's in the back of her mind when Danny kept telling her the rules, the rules, the rules, and they broke them, and now it seems like it's doing some irreparable damage in the dynamic of the foursome as a friend group. But love her approach altogether. Meanwhile, Evie is crashing the fuck out about Danny. She cannot stop thinking about him. He's just going about his day, like in his mind, like he's dealing with the situation with Becca's nude stuff being posted online. He's dealing with a criminal mastermind possibly out to kill him, harm his family or whatever. And Evie is internalizing this as Danny somehow ignoring her. And she's like, you know, have you been ignoring me? I can't stop thinking about you. We need to do this again. And he was like, look, Pete is clearly not on board, and this is not how this works. You got a man, I have a woman. It did not work. You need to move on, girl. Like, and honestly, I'm not ignoring you. Like, I got shit to do. But like, go back. And Danny is so involved in his own thing that he's really not seeing the flags at all. She's been kind of cagey and just regular smiley as normal around Becka, but with Danny, it's something that's coming off very, very strong. But he's so self-involved right now, which rightfully so, that he's not noticing like the desperation behind her, like consistently trying to corner him outside. And one of the nosiest mofos in the block is constantly seeing them outside together. So it's like, why we keep doing stuff outside? Come on, y'all know where y'all live. Take it to the house. Take it to the house. Take it to the house. But they don't do that, okay? Boom. So Pete comes home from work because he's been giving Evie the silent treatment for a while. And he comes in, he turns off the TV. He's like, okay, look, we need to have a difficult conversation. So this is right after he talked to Bex. And he's like, why the fuck did you tell her that I said we were down? And Evie's like, we talked about it. And somehow in her mind, we talked about it meant yes. No, girl, yes means yes. Like YES means yes, not we talked about it and then I had sex with you, and then after I had sex with you, I convinced myself that you were going to be down. That's not how this was. So they're getting into an argument about it, and Pete's like, what did you do with him? And I said, why do people ask questions that they don't want the answer to? And Evie's like, you know, we just fooled around a little bit. Here we go, lying. Girl. He sat on the couch while you were getting your guts dug out. Hello. And so they're arguing. I'm doing this back and forth. And Pete's like, I know you fucked him. And I'm just like, it was two things. One, Evie's kind of like looking caught and looking like she's trying to make up a lie in her head. Like, ooh, there's no way that he knows. But Pete, if you knew, why did you ask? I hate stuff like that. Like, don't ask as if you're completely oblivious. Just lead with the fact that you know and get to the root of whatever it is that you're trying to figure it out. Because did you really want to talk about it to move on? Or did you want to talk about it just to slut shame her? I'm confused on your motivations behind this. And they literally get nowhere in this argument. And you can just kind of see it in Evie's eyes that she kind of checked out. Like, okay, whatever. Who fucking cares? And she's not sensitive to her partner's feelings whatsoever. Okay, again, the things that are devolving in her mind, she's getting more and more checked out in her actual relationship as she's mentally diving into a relationship with Danny. So is back home and he's wheelchair bound, and then somehow we happen into Diary of a Mad British Woman because she's like, oh, you need me now, and he can't speak, he can't barely move, none of that, and she is milking it. She's like, you know what I think I'm gonna do? That lift that you didn't get installed when I needed it the most, I'm gonna keep you downstairs in this wheelchair because you can't go anywhere, hun. And I'm gonna go upstairs and we're gonna go on an adventure and I'm gonna explore every nook and cranny of this space that you value so much. The only thing that would have made this scene better is literally if she pushed him into the tub and then sat across from him while eating a salad and letting him starve. I said, somebody in that writer's room watch Tyler Perry's Diary of a Mad Black Woman, because you literally could not avoid the parallels of this scene. So Mama is upstairs and she's trying to get into this computer and she still don't know the password, but she's shuffling around and she ends up getting in, unlocking some stuff and printing some things. And she come back downstairs, she said, what the fuck is this? So did you steal it? Did you just save it? Like, there's no real explanation on how you got this that would be anything that's remotely sane. So we're gonna put this picture in front of you while you struggle to grab this glass of water, and I want you to think about all of the disgusting actions and stuff that you've done while I continue to figure out who I married and if I'm still gonna be married to your disgusting ass. And he's just sitting there just can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. And you know, I love this for Jean. Like, to be honest, I love this for her. So anyways, while that's happening at home, Bex is, you know, still doing her thing. I just love her as a mom with Ollie. She goes to school, she's getting ready to pick him up, and he's just like, can I go over to my friend's house? And she's like, yeah. The teacher comes out and he's like, hey, I wanted to catch you because we haven't gotten the payment yet for the big field trip that's coming up. She's like, oh, don't worry about it. Let me go ahead and take care of that right now. Well, she logs into the bank statements and she goes into the savings, and baby girl got less than 90 pounds in her savings account. And you can see the transactions where over $5 grand was removed twice. And so she's like, something is not right, because only 2 people have access to this account, and now I can't pay for my baby Wade to go on his field trip. Fuck no. Like, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. You could literally see the determination in her eyes, right? So again, Evie, stuck on a loop. She goes back in her memories and she's replaying every interaction that she's ever had with Danny in her bedroom, on the bed. And in her memories, Becka is mysteriously erased. Pete is mysteriously erased, even in moments where they were clearly together on screen. And she's having these ideals and she just begins to, you know, bring herself to glory at the thought of all of the ideas and dreams and everything that she's had about Danny. Like, my sis, she's gone. She's gone. I fear we're not going to get her back because she's already erasing reality from her mind as it pertains to everything that's been happening over the course of at least a year at this point. So here we are. Next day, Jean is coming outside looking like she's finna run some errands when the nosy neighbor that be out with her Pomeranian was like, girl, glad like the paramedics found them over at Becca's spot, you know, good thing with the intruder. And Becca's just walking by in her own little world, and she's like, what about my place? And Jean is like, oh yeah, I meant to leave a note, but I never got around to it. I thought that there was an intruder, so I sent Alan around back to check in on it. And, you know, he didn't find anyone inside, but he ended up having a stroke while inside your house. And Becca's like, oh my God, no, like, what? Like, is he okay? Like, you know, I've worked with stroke patients before through rehabilitative yoga and stuff like that. You know, I could help. And Jean's like, no, like, you know, insurance is covering things, like, you're all good. And she was like, listen, I could really use the work right now. Like, you would be doing me a favor. And Jean senses a little bit of Becca's insistency and desperation, and she says, you know what? Why not? And I said, you motherfucking nasty bitch. You nasty bitch. It doesn't matter that she's sitting over here insisting and you feel like you're trying to be nice and throwing her a bone. You're literally putting her in front of your husband who has been stalking her, broke into her house, masturbated in her bedroom, violated her privacy. You may not know the extent of the website or anything like that, but you know enough to know that he is obsessed with her, and you agreed. You should have saved her by like breaking her heart in that moment, but you nasty ass woman. And I'm just like, oh, y'all be standing behind y'all's men. Y'all be standing behind them 10 toes down. Literally, respect out the window. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Y'all deserve each other. Nasty. Anyways, Danny and Gary are off on a side quest to figure out like what happened with the package and how to get it back, because Spencer's like, you're getting my shit back, so like toodaloo. And Sophie is out investigating incognito wise and following them because they're at a bar talking about it with somebody else that they met at to get some intel on who stole it. So Sophie gets her information, whatever. She actually does a really good job, but like, why are you by yourself? And I get why she's by herself, because Danny would recognize Pete. I don't know. It's just one of them situations, like, you couldn't have called like a homegirl or your boss, like somebody to be there with you just in case. But nothing happened to her. But she did drop Pete the location. She was like, get your ass down here right now. Like right now. And Pete gets there and she's running out and she's like, they're looking for something in this location, but stuff got interrupted when the bad guys came back. So like, we need to figure out what's going on, because this is much bigger than we thought it was. And as they're also standing out in the open, broad daylight, Gary drives by and Danny ends up seeing Pete and Sophie through his side of the window. And he notices Pete, but then everything hits him like a ton of bricks as he sees Pete and Sophie together, because Sophie accidentally bumped into him at the bar when she was eavesdropping, and she pulled that shit off so good. And so now Danny is like panic all over his face, because whatever you thought you were hiding, you are caught. And now more people know about what's going on than you anticipated, and you cannot escape this. So there's that. Season 1, episode 4, The Miracle of the Couple Next Door. Now, again, I got some thoughts, okay? Evie, ma'am, I'm gonna need somebody to 5150 you. Like, I need people to pay attention a little bit more to her, because she has slowly been mentally declining ever since the miscarriage, and the way that she's been clinging onto the relationship of Becca and Danny and constantly wanting to be in their presence, and the looks and stuff that even Pete has seen thrown Danny's way. Like, nobody's clocking this whatsoever. And I know y'all might be like, well, Kivanchi, it's very easy to be on the outside looking in or whatever. I have worked with people and been side by side with people where I'm noticing every single thing about them. And I have had to be in moments where I had to stop someone and like recommend and like, hey, we can go together, but we need you to go talk to someone, because the behaviors and the things that you're saying and the things that you're doing are not right. It's not normal, and my soul is telling me that you're not going down like a good path. So really gonna need some people to pay attention to Evie. But I guess in the spirit of the show, I can't even say that she's doing a good job at hiding it. She don't give a fuck. She don't give a fuck. Pete's like, I didn't want to do this. And she's like, okay. Pete's like, oh my God, I can't believe you slept with him. She's like, bro, nobody died. Like the way that she just dismisses everything, she's not hiding it. But Pete is so into himself and so insecure that he can't even allow himself to see, like, this is not the woman that he's been with for 17 years. Something is broken in her and nobody's fixing it at all. Then we have Becka, right? Becca's antennas are up. Because, Danny, where the fuck is our money? Where is our money? And again, I already said, Becka don't let nothing sit. She finna get to the root of the problem. And my girl was doing her mommy duties and her investigative duties. And I cannot wait. Danny thought his mouth was on the floor and had a brick to his face when he saw Pete and Sophie. Baby, your intestines are going to prolapse out of your anal cavity when Becka get through with you. I promise you. I promise you. Because you're not the man that she married. When we met you, this was a very open and honest relationship. And now we see you now at the end of episode 4 and you are looking like the liar that she might start to believe you to be. So, good luck, Dans. Okay. Jean. I already said what I had to say about Jean. You disgust me. You deserve the same jail time as your husband. Lock them up together, okay? Done with you, lady. Pete. I already talked a little bit about him. His insecurities, man. His insecurities, and he's kind of crashing out. But you're crashing out with the wrong person. You're crashing out with the wrong person, and I'm going to need you to redirect this energy back into your own household, sir. Because you cannot run away from this for forever. And then last but not least, I needed to talk about this eavesdropping, right? Danny, Gary, y'all are talking about the fact that the package that was stolen was some diamonds for somebody who's worth billions and been embezzling billions, and you're talking about this in the daytime out in the open with a lot of people at this bar. Did you think you were whispering? I'm sorry. And this was so funny to me because to me, I'm Sophie. When I go out to like bars and stuff by myself or restaurants and stuff by myself, like one of my favorite things to do is eavesdrop. I can literally have a headphone on and I'm watching like true crime or I'm watching another show or whatever. And I only have one headphone in. And I'll be hearing some other stuff. If it's interesting, baby, I'm gonna turn this down real quick. I'm gonna still keep it going because I don't need y'all to see that I paused my show. And I'm eavesdropping. I'm listening to everything that you got going on. Now we'll like it on TikTok and be like, story time. No, I'm not gonna tell your business like you're a stranger. I don't know you. But I be listening in. Why wouldn't you think anybody would be listening in on stolen diamonds? Are you dumb? Like, how do y'all work in the police department? You're the dumbest criminals ever. You at least got a leg up on the information on at least how to get away with a crime. And yet, here we are. Broad daylight. Not only getting caught in the bar with Sophie recording your conversation, but then getting caught again by Sophie and Pete. Like, it's like 1,000 ways to die, but like 1,000 ways to go to jail. I don't know. The world's dumbest crimes. I don't know. The world's dumbest criminals. Is that a thing? I need to look that up because this was completely avoidable. But again, it's only 6 episodes, so I mean, I get it. We gotta get the ball rolling. When is Danny gonna get caught? Well, you got caught, my guy. Like, we're here. So yeah, that's episode 4. That's episode 4. You gotta watch the episode to figure out why the name of it is The Miracle, though. Definitely left out hella shit from this episode. Go watch it. Stream it on STARZ. If you got the STARZ app, though, you can watch it at 3 a.m. Eastern time on the app. Otherwise, you can wait until I think 9/8 Central on STARZ at night to watch it on Fridays. So yeah, you can stream it ahead of its premiere on the cable network channel. And with that, we're gonna wrap up this episode. As always, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment in the comment box below, okay? Make sure you share the Spotify and the Apple Podcast link for those who like to listen to podcasts on the go. You can also follow me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where I'm sharing all types of film, industry news, television updates, upcoming shows, award season, etc. My fiance says that my story on Instagram is like watching like entertainment news, and she finds out so much from it. So I take that as a high compliment, because she ends up getting put on to so many other things that I don't talk about on my actual podcast. So if it's working for her, it'll absolutely work for you. And again, as always, you can find me talking my shit, live tweeting about a whole bunch of other stuff on Twitter at Heughan, as well as Blue Sky Social. And with that, I'm gonna catch y'all in the next episode.